Hi Atlanta, how are you? I'm so sorry. Yeah. So my name is Karthik, and I'm one of the senior quant trainer in UniHawk. So we'll be doing a small half an hour session regarding how to start the preparation for GMAT and what materials that we have to prepare and how many months do we need and all these basic things that before we start the GMAT preparation, what all the things that we need to do in order to handle the GMAT, right? So I think we'll wait for a couple of minutes, like 1-2 minutes, so that we will there are other attendees, right? So we'll start in another 2 minutes, right? I think let's start the webinar, right? Right. So today our agenda is what is the GMAT test pattern, and how do we start our preparation, what materials that we have to make, and how many mocks that we have to take, right? So is it really need to take the sectional test, or do I directly start with the mock test, right? All these. Right. So let's look at the GMAT test pattern, right? So the first section is AWA, and next one is quant, verbal, IR, and yeah, these are the 4 sections. Now, earlier this used to be the pattern. The first used to be AWA, and then IR, and then quant, and then verbal, right? So, but now they have introduced 3 patterns, right? So you can start with AWA, IR, quant, and verbal. That's by default. But if you want to change it, you can change it, right? So you can start with quant and then verbal, and then with IR, and then with AWA. And the other pattern is you can start with verbal if you're comfortable with verbal, and then you can move to quant, and then to IR, and then to AW, right? So these are the number of questions and the time allotted for each and every section, right? So score for AW, the score is from 0 to 6, right? And quantitative reasoning, the score is from 6 to 51, verbal reasoning 6 to 51, and IR is 1 to 8. And in total, the score is 200 to 800, right? So basically, so basically the IR score from 1 to 8 is not part of 200 to 800, right? And AWA is also not part of 200 to 800. The only quant and the verbal reasoning score is a part of 200 to 800, right? So if we get a score of 200, that means we most of the questions went wrong. I think, in fact, I can say all the questions went wrong. If you want to get a score of 800, it's not necessary that all the questions have to be right, because some of the questions are experimental questions. And how many are experimental questions? We can say approximately 25% of the questions, either the quant or the verbal, are experimental questions. So no one knows sorry, no one knows exactly how many questions are there, how many exactly experimental questions are there in both quant and verbal, right? Yeah. Next, how do we start a preparation? So before we start a preparation, we have to take a diagnostic test, right? So what is this diagnostic test? Let's say, for example, I need to know where I stand before I start my preparation. So the without preparation, if you take any test, that is called a diagnostic test. That will give you a result. It will show you where you stand. For example, if you get a score of let's say 500, and if you're aiming for a score of 750, that means you understand that you have to achieve 250 points, right? So that you will understand in which concept you are strong in which section you are strong, right? That's the second point, the strongest section. So before we take a diagnostic test that we feel like, okay, I'm strong at quant or I'm strong at verbal, but after taking a diagnostic test, that you will realize that, okay, actually my strongest section is quant, or actually my strongest section is verbal, right? That might change, right? So after taking the diagnostic test, then you will realize what is the strongest section, right? So next, which topics are strong? Should I start with an easy or a strong topic, right? So which topic is strong? There is nothing, to be frank, there's nothing like strong or easy topic. It completely in our mindset. Let's say, for example, if I talk about exponents and roots, right? Most of them say that's a easy topic, but there are many hard questions in that, right? So there's nothing like easy topic or a strong topic. It's about how comfortable are you with that topic, right? So some of them say, geometry is a hard concept, but if you know the properties, if you know the properties of all the figures, then that's one of the easiest concept, right? So it's nothing like we have what do you call a strong concept or an easy concept, right? And after taking a diagnostic test, you will realize, okay, these are the concepts that I'm weak in. For example, probability. Most of the students make silly mistakes, and permutations and combinations. Most of the students make silly mistakes. If you talk about verbal, we can say sentence corrections, the grammar parts, we make silly mistakes, right? So these are the things that you will realize after taking the diagnostic test, right? So after taking the diagnostic test, the one thing which comes to your mind is, what is the material that I have to prepare? From where do I get the material, right? So is this material authentic or not? Or is this, what do you call it? How many questions I have to prepare, right? So now let's see what are the materials that we have to get in, right? So the first material that we have, it's not like we have to, UniHawk has spent a lot of money on developing the content, and we have hired different trainers and different content creators to make the content who are strong in GMAT, right? So apart from this, we have the official source where we get the official questions, right? So you can buy the bundle, right? Either you can buy only the mocks, or you can buy a bundle of questions, right? Which will show you the difficulty level of the questions if you want to practice only the easy level and only the hard level, right? So if you are in the score range of, let's say, 500, that means you have to start somewhere around medium level, right? So if you are at the score range of, let's say, 700, that means you have to start with the harder level questions, right? So after taking the diagnostic test, you will understand, okay, where am I standing and what kind of a questions that I have to practice? Is it an easy question that I have to start, or is the harder level question that I have to start? And except the GMAT people, no one knows what exactly the easy question is. For example, how do you decide whether the question is hard, right? Let's say there are different scenarios that they consider that the question is hard. There are multiple concepts. There are multiple concepts. For example, if you talk about one of the questions in GMAT official guide in Quant, especially, there's one question with geometry, inequalities, and permutations and combinations, right? So if you find any question, related to 2-3 topics in one question, then it is considered to be a harder level question. And let's say if the question is too lengthy and if it is a time consuming question, then it is also considered to be a harder level question. Now, what exactly the easy level question is? If there is only one concept, it's straightforward, a formula based question, then it is considered to be an easy level question, right? And yeah, so these are the things that we need to take care. And there are other materials also. So I wouldn't say that you have to prepare from there or you should not prepare from there, right? So we have something called GMAT Club, right? So there are many different sources in GMAT Club, so you can practice from there. But the thing is, we never know which one is authentic, which one is not, right? There are different companies who share their material there, and there are different students who share the material there. But except the official source, we don't know whether it is authentic or not. And the test prep company like us, who are like, more than a decade experience in this teaching in this GMAT, right? So we invest a lot of money in this to give a good material to the students. So such kind of training institutes, we can say, we can rely on that such material. Okay. Right. Next. How many months should I prepare for? Is it 3 months that I have to prepare? Or is it 6 months that I have to prepare? Or is it 12 months that I have to prepare? Right? So there are different kinds of students. So there are a couple of students who came to me and asked, sir, I have only 3 months, so can I start my preparation? So it's not like you have 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. You can start your preparation anytime. There are students who started the preparation in 1 month and have got a good score. And there are students who have got started the preparation in 12 months and they could not get a good score because they don't take out time when they, when they know that they have 12 months time, then they are relaxed, right? So, I can say, okay, fine, I'll prepare tomorrow. Okay, that tomorrow never comes, right? Now, when do we have to start, and how many months would it take to prepare, and how many months would it self preparation do we need, right? So 3 months, I would say it's really a short period, because if you join any training institute, right? In general, I'm talking about, not about UniHawk, in general, right? So 3 months is a really short period, because if you take, let's say, 2 classes a week, so you end up at least 2.5 months to finish the syllabus, right? So roughly, even if you take 2 months, you have only 1 month time. In that 1 month time, you need to practice a lot of questions. So where you end up spending a lot of time practicing only the GMAT official guide questions. When do you practice the mocks and then sectional tests, right? So 3 months would be a little shorter notice, and 6 months would be the best time, because the initial 2.5 months, if it is gone for the preparation, and you have another 3.5 months to prepare, so in this 3.5 months we can plan properly. So the after the preparation is after the training is done, the first 1 month generally goes with the self preparation of taking the sections, taking the topics in which picking out the questions from the topics, practicing it, and after that we start with generally the sectional test, just to be comfortable with the timings, right? So uh, to do the time management, never directly start with the full length test. The reason is, the full length test, we should not waste our full length test just to see the time management, right? So first, be comfortable with the what you call the sections individually, so quant and verbal, and we use the full length test to see where we stand before we do the actual test, right? So to do the time management, you should always do the sectional test, right? And the sectional test will even the sectional test will even help you to understand in which topics, or in which particular what you call the formula, or you can say, or the properties, or you can say, or the passages, or you can say, on what kind of passages that we are going to make mistakes. Okay, so it will tell you where you stand actually, right? The mocks, you should never take that for the time management, right? And 12 months is really long period, right? Starting your preparation 1 year before, I would say, if you're a working professional, and if you're not able to take out time, like, 1.5 hour a day, then 12 months would be fine. But I wouldn't recommend this 12 months period. The reason is, you have to start your college applications also, right? You have to get you have to work on the college applications. You have to see which universities are good, which universities are bad. You have to do some kind of research work, right? So in this 12 months, if you allocate the entire 12 months for your preparation, then when will you do this, right? So if you are, if you are not in a rush, okay, if you feel like, okay, I have experience, and I would say, I'll take the GMAT test, and then based on that, I will start looking for the universities, then it's fine. But if you feel like, no, I have to do it, then I would say 6 months is the ideal time, right? So uh, in these three cases, I would say 6 months is the ideal time. Yeah. Next, how many mocks or the sectional test should I take? So basically, before that, the question is, when should we start the mock test, or when should we start the sectional test? Never ever start with the mock test directly, right? Because as I told you, you need to know how to manage time, right? So for that, you have to do the sectional test. So first do the sectional test, and then do the mock test. Now, how many mock tests should I practice? That depends, right? So let's say, for example, if you're aiming for a score of 720 or 730, and when you started, you are at a score of, let's say, 550. After preparation, you will take one more test, right? In that test, if you are at a score of 650, that means you have increased 100 points from 550 to 650, right? That means you are just 70 points away, right? So these 70 points should not take much time to reach, right? So in that process, you need to understand, how do I start my preparation, right? So you'll take the first mock test and see where you're making mistakes. And before taking the second mock test, you will practice on that. And in the second mock test, there should be some kind of improvement. And when I say improvement, of course, we will improve on the topics that we have made a mistake in the previous mock test, but never make the same mistake again and again. And it doesn't mean that you have to make new mistakes. Try to avoid silly mistakes. There are different types of mistakes that we generally make. You know, that one is a conceptual mistake where we don't understand the concept clearly, right? And another one is silly mistakes, right? Another one is time management. So time management we'll talk later, right? So, but silly mistakes, try to avoid silly mistakes. What kind of silly mistakes that we generally make? You know, we don't read the question properly, right? So if the question is easy, and if they are asking us to find out what is the value of x square, we find out the value of x and we forget, because in our academics we have this habit of finding the value of x and we stop there, right? So, but GMAT is all about reasoning, right? They don't test really your math skills, right? They're not looking for your math skills, right? So they need basic math skills along with your higher reasoning skills, right? So that's the reason we don't have calculus, or maybe you can say trigonometry, or maybe you can say logarithms. We don't have all of that, right? They're not really testing your, conceptual mathematical concepts, right? They are looking if you know the basic concepts along with the higher reasoning skills, right? And so how should I prepare for the next mock? So basically, when we do the first mock, what we have to do is we have to create an error log, right? So what is this error log? So you have to maintain an Excel sheet in which, where you specify the question number, the topic, and the kind of mistakes that you make, the time that you have what do you call, the time that you have taken to solve the question, and the time that you're supposed to take that question, right? So what is the difference between the last two? There is always stress when we do the mock test, right? If I take a question, if it is with time, then I might take more time. But if it is without time, I will do quickly and I'll not make silly mistakes, because whenever there is time management, whenever there is time involved in any kind of test, there is always stress, right? So try to get rid of this, because you have to, if you're aiming for a good score, then I would say practice as many sectional tests, so that at least you get a hang of the time management skills, right? And now, yeah, when we prepare this in this Excel sheet, you understand, okay, what topics are we making mistake, right? If there is already a error log in the mock test where the training institute is providing, that is excellent. You open you will understand, okay, how much time you have taken, and what topics are we making mistakes, and which sections are we making more mistakes, is it quant or verbal, right? So we this will be there if in case if if the training institute is providing, right? So with this, we have another issue, like most of the students have another issue. The issue is, they will practice the concept where they make more mistakes. For example, if they take there are 5 questions in geometry, and then they have made all the 5 questions wrong. What they do is they generally practice more of geometry, and then they forget to practice other topics. So we should not do that, right? So we have to practice geometry, and we have to take a couple of questions from every topic, so that we will not forget any concept, right? So we have to practice couple of questions from every concept so that we don't forget the properties, we don't forget the formulas, and we don't forget any kind of grammar or some kind of rules which are applicable for to the verbal, right? Next. Yeah. So do you have any questions? Let's allocate the last of 7 minutes or 8 minutes for the questions. If you have any questions, you can type it in the chat window. Atlanta or Secret, any questions you have regarding the GMAT? Okay, and looks like you don't have any questions, but we will quickly discuss, a couple of things where the students generally ask me, like, the general questions, the common questions. Okay, so the first one is, after taking the diagnostic test, after taking the diagnostics, how soon should they prepare for the, how soon should they start the preparation? So there should not be much gap between the diagnostic test and the preparation, right? So if you take a diagnostic test and then there is a long gap for the preparation, again, after, then you will have to take a diagnostic test. Let's say, for example, in the first diagnostic test, if you have taken and then you are at the score of 550, and then you give a 1 month break, then you have to take a diagnostic test, then that might decrease your score. So never have a gap between your diagnostic test and the preparation, right? And the other question that they generally ask is, sir, there are three different patterns. So we generally have the first, by default, the pattern is AWA, and then IR, and then quant, and then verbal. So, and then we have another format, and then we have another format. So which format should I follow? So I would say, if you are good at quant, so start with the quantitative section. If you are good at verbal, then start with the verbal section, right? So because, let's say, for example, if you're good at verbal, then you're pretty sure that you can do well in verbal, and then that gives you a positive vibe to do the next section. And never ever start with the AWA section. The reason is that takes half an hour of your time, and you think a lot to type what should be written there, and then your entire brain capacity goes there. And then the second part is IR is also a time consuming section. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but there is a lot of things that we have to pay attention to, right? So there is a lot of graphs, tables, and everything, so there is a lot of attention that they need, right? So these two sections, they they drain your brain, right? So I would say, first, always start with either the quant or the verbal, and then uh, you can go with IR, and then go with AW, right? So these are the things that we need to take care, right? Then, Anthony, do you have any questions regarding GMAT or GMAT preparation? Okay, okay, right. So yeah, we are UniHawk. We are in different social media. So if you want to know more information about the UniHawk, and more information about the GMAT, so please do follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And if you need more videos on the concepts, or maybe the GMAT, or the GMAT sources where we can practice, where we can get more questions, you can follow us on YouTube, right? So I'm so sorry. Yeah, for more information, you can just either drop a mail or you can just call us on the below number. Right. So please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and all other social medias, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our videos. Yeah. Thank you.